Well, I don't have a Hydra guide on the channel, so we're going to solve that. We're going to get through a progression. What champs do you need? What skills? What makes them work? How do you beat these bosses? That's what we're going to do. Before I do that, though, click the link in the description because crazy way to start a new account right now. You can add Tuhonarak with the code Desert Queen right when you get your account started. She's an incredible legendary to start with. And with my link, you also get Narma, who's a great poisoner to start with. So all those epics, all you have to do is follow 4 steps. Log 1, log out of Player and Play on the PC and uninstall. Step 2, click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Step 3, launch Raid, complete the tutorial. And Step 4, go to your inbox, claim Narma, enter the Desert Queen promo code to get Tuhonarak, and then get Uugo, Mausoleum Mage, and Anax as you progress. I mean, that is a crazy start. All right, let's get into Hydra. I guess first thing is, why do you want to do Hydra? Why is it worth it? You know, as soon as you can get in here and get through more than 1.67 damage, that's when you should start. As soon as you can get in here, start doing your Hydra keys. Even if it takes you 3 keys, get in there. Why? Because you get stone skin and protection gear every week. You can get up to 5-star gear, mythical, or even legendary from the first chest and 6-star. So you got 6 stars in here too. Now, the farther you progress, the more 6 stars you can get. But even on that first chest, you've got the ability to get 6 stars. And on the last chest, that's better than anything you're gonna run in dungeons. So great sets too, both useful. And you get Mithrala fragments. Mine won't show that anymore because I already have Mithrala. But you get Mithrala fragments, and she is a fantastic champ. So you definitely want to get in there when you can, and when you can get that first level of damage, and it's worth doing. So, boss mechanics. This is a very complicated boss to get into, and it takes specific debuffs that you want to bring. The number 1 debuff you want is block buffs. That stops the poison cloud going up from one of the heads, the head of blight. It stops the head of wrath from putting up his big block damage or reflect damage and his increased attack, and it stops suffering from putting up the ally protects. So it's really helpful. A champ like Wukong does that on his A3, does an AoE block buffs. He's a great champ in there. You do have Lady Kimmy, who does that really well from Epic's perspective. Lydia does it on a single target, so I target the head of wrath. You've got Uugo. Uugo's good for it. He is irritating though because it can't have any buffs on the enemies, and they come up today with having a buff right when they spawn, and then so he can screw things up. Contra's pretty effective at it for legendaries. You do have Uugo. Uugo's one of the best in the game, and he's an epic. I mean, honestly, he may be the best in the game at this, and he's an epic. So he puts up the decreased defense and block buffs on a 3-turn cooldown for 2 turns. Uugo's awesome. Put him on Affinity Breaker, and that magic affinity doesn't hurt him as much. Anax can do it as another epic. So he puts it on AoE block buffs as well. His is only an 80% chance though, 85 with Sniper. So, and he's also Spirit Affinity, so he can weak hit. So he's not great at it, but he can do it. You got Firo, who's fantastic. Umbral Enchantress can do it as an epic as well. She's not great for other things in the fight, but she does it. You got Tuhonarak in there. I'm just looking for other ones that probably strike me. You know, even a Mortu can do it. So those are probably some of the bigger ones. I'm missing some of the other epics and rares in here. There are others in the game that can do that. So, but Uugo really is your MVP if you can get that one as an epic. So block buffs is key. Let me show you a little footage too. So this is what can happen if you don't do block buffs. You've got this head of blight here that can put up the poison cloud, and you have wicks, and you have head of decay that can strip. So I'm not going to put up the block buffs, and I'll just do an A1 there. I'm going to provoke this guy so he doesn't screw me up, and I'll show you why in a second. So now we just come in here. I'm just using any abilities for now. Now watch this head of blight. He puts up these 2-turn poison clouds. When that happens, you can't do any damage anymore, and you can't land debuffs unless you have HP burn up. So watch, Uugo will try and now put the block buffs up. He gets it on 2 heads because I guess that doesn't even make sense. They're on poison cloud, right? Well, that's a little crazy. Oh, that makes sense. I'm sorry. I have him in Affinity Breaker. So I actually didn't even realize that until I'm showing you. but that affinity breaker means he has a chance of overcoming a weak hit. You always weak hit with these poison cloud debuffs, so your damage dealers don't do much damage, but interestingly, you can still land his block buffs through the poison cloud. Didn't even know that. So now watch Wixwell, all those weak hits, they're all weak hits. Watch Stagnite, you'll see weak hits everywhere. So we're not doing any damage against those guys with two turns. So that's what happens if you don't have block buffs. Now, I did show you what happens with the second most important debuff being provoke. Why do I need provoke? Watch this. If Uugo puts up those block buffs, and now Wixwell doesn't put the provoke on Head of Decay, and we put out decreased attack so the Head of Wrath doesn't do as much, and we can do a little bit of Royal Guard Slam. Now, boom, the Head of Decay comes in and strips those block buffs up. Now the Head of Blight puts the Poison Cloud right back up. So if you don't have block buffs and provoke together, you end up in the right same place. Now, if you don't have those debuffs, let me show you what I would do instead. Ideally, then I would bring in someone like, hold on a second. I could bring in someone like Mordecai and watch what I'll do here. If I don't have a provoke that's reliable, I will not use my block buffs and decreased defense. I'm just gonna let Uugo do whatever he wants to do. A1, let's pretend I don't have the provoke. I said I don't have. I do want to get some debuffs up there though, because that'll force the Head of Wrath to do his skill. I'm not going to use Mordecai's burn. I'm not going to use his. I just A1. Royal Guard can go ahead and slam. So now the Head of Decay comes in and strips everything. The Head of Blight goes right in and puts poisoned clouds up. Well, I will save Uugo's ability again, and now when Mordecai goes, oh, come on Mordecai, do your thing. When Mordecai goes, he can put the HP burn up through the poison clouds. So now I can land debuffs. I can have Uugo put his up. So if you have HP burn on there, then you can land your debuffs. Now we're still gonna weak hit because of those poison clouds, but you can land debuffs when you have HP burn up there. But it takes somebody like Mordecai that doesn't attack to land the burn. So that's how those two debuffs, when I said block buffs and provoke, are very important. So let me make sure I free regroup, or that would have sucked. So two most important debuffs, block buffs and provoke. The next debuff I'll mention is AoE decrease. So AoE decreased speed is really good. You know, you got champs like Eastrid, Adeline. Eastrid's actually good in the fight in general. I would say Kimmy is really good in the fight in general. Tomb Lord can be used. Necmo is best in class. You got Necmo, get him in the fight. Necmo does all kinds of great stuff in here. So he's got decreased attack, decreased speed, leech, increased speed. He's got everything. So you've got Gwendolyn, you've got Mother Cybele. Royal Guard does it on his A3 ability. Stag Knight does it on his A1. And you do have the traditionals. Even a High Katoon, if you're just progressing, you're just starting the game, you get High Katoon on day 30 and a Royal Guard, they both work. For those that got the Thor fusion done, Thor can do it as well. So you've got some epics in there. I don't think I have include Master Vault, so that's going to add a lot more champs that do decreased speed in there. So you can see there's a wide range of champs that can do decreased speed. I was pointing out some of the ones that are actually particularly good in Hydra. So Tauranarok, Feral, if you got them too. But you know, but really the more accessibles are the Stag Knights, Royal Guards. You know, even Scylla the Drakes. So Scylla the Drakes does it on her A1. She can put decreased speed up there. Target heads that don't have it. So decreased speed's a really good one. Decreased defense, I won't show you all the champs because, oh, why not? Just showing epics. Those are all the epic decreased defense champs. And once again, champs like Royal Guard, because he does that on his A1. You've got Uugo in there, who's fantastic. Stag Knight. So you've got some good Hydra. Even Fenax. I use him on my normal team for my free-to-play. So you've got champs in here, a lot of champs in here that can do decreased defense as well. So plenty of decreased defense champs. That just increases your damage by using those. So, and then Hex is another good one. Hex is a good one, not as important. Everything I mentioned on these debuffs, I'm going to descending order of importance. So block buffs 1, provoke 2, AoE decreased speed 3, decreased defense 4. Hex would be 5th down in the priority. You can see there's a lot fewer champs that do it. You know, you need to get Mithrala to get Mithrala, but once you have her, you know, the Michinakis are great. You got even a Kentum is probably the best epic for this, and you know, that's really it for epics. There's not many epics up here, so I would say Akentum's good in the fight, and he's a good epic. Other than that, you're probably not bringing Hex unless you're bringing legendaries. So the next one would be Decrease Attack. Decrease Attack's very helpful. Decrease Attack can help keep you alive, and the Head of Wrath is the one you need that Decrease Attack on more than anybody. The Head of Wrath just hits like a truck. And Rector Drath is fantastic in this fight. She brings it. Tayrel can do it. Stag Knight. That's probably, I'm looking for ones. Ursula is really good in this fight. She brings an AoE decrease attack and she brings a revive. So she's really good too. So those are probably some of the better epics, but you can see just how many epics I have to choose from that bring decrease attack. Those are ones for this fight that are good. So the next one on descending priority would be Leech. Leech helps keep the team alive. It's just another source of healing where you do heal. So that way when your damage dealers hit, you actually get healed from that. Uugo's fantastic. Duke can do it. Vogoth can do it. I don't know anybody else in here that really excites me to bring into Hydra. So for epics, those are probably the ones I focus on most. If I don't limit myself to epics, you do bring more chances. Razelvarg and Nekmo are best in class. And then Gwendolyn, Tila Gourmet, I mean, they're fantastic. Bivald's good because he brings the provoke too. So some really good legendaries in the pool for it. But for epics, it's really Uugo, Deacon, and you could use Vogoth. He's not great in the fight. So that's a Leech. And then HP Burn. HP Burn, I mentioned this one in the debuffs. I'll cover damage dealers next, but I do mention it in the debuffs because putting HP Burn up there means you can land more debuffs even if the Poison Cloud comes up. So it's a helpful debuff to place as well. And you've got champs like Artak that are fantastic. You got Ninja in there, certainly the Mishinakis of the world. You got Skrank in there from an epic perspective. Drexthar, which you get for free out of the Bazaar. Drexthar is fantastic in this fight. He brings HP Burn and he's got a provoke in there. And he just needs to get hit to land it. So plenty of legendaries in here, but Geomancer, Frockin' the Fat, Drexthar, more accessible HP Burn champs. Mordecai I showed you already. He's fantastic because he doesn't have to, he can land it through the Poison Cloud. So plenty of HP Burn champs. Now for buffs that you want to bring, I'd say my number one buff would be increased speed. If you can bring somebody to help manipulate, so decrease speed on the debuffs and increase speed on your champs. There's a lot of increased speed champs, so you know, anybody from Apothecary can do it. Haikutun can do it. Arbiter in there can do it. Syl can bring, you know, increased speed. Even a Morrigan, Uugo. So a lot of champs you can see here on the screen that bring increased speed. That's helpful. The next one would be block debuffs. So a lot of good champs with block debuffs in here. Certainly if you have the Duchesses and Cardials of the world, they're fantastic. But Pythion, you know, Tatura is really good. Even Maneaters. Trying to look for more accessible champs, you know, you've in here. Well, if I screen by epics that I have, I don't really even see any of these epics that are too exciting for me to bring in for block buffs, so block debuffs. So man, it does feel more like the legendaries are needed because yeah, those champs aren't fantastic for me. So certainly the legendaries are much better champs in the fight. So Elvas of the world to Duchess, Cardial. So unfortunately, I didn't see great choices in block debuffs. Very helpful to have on the team, but you can certainly go another route. So heals, shields, revives, and cleansers. So you can bring people that cleanse the debuffs if you can't block them. So if I look at champs that can just cleanse those debuffs if you can't block them, you've got Uugo again, who's fantastic. Shamael will show up for a couple spots in this one. Shamael's fantastic because he clears fear is the main thing he clears. But he's the best in the game for the Head of Torment, which puts fear on everybody. He instantly clears that fear. So he's fantastic for that. Doom Priest clears a debuff on the start of every one of her turns. She's useful in the fight. She's not great in this fight, but for progressing, if you're just trying to get those normal ones done, Doom Priest is incredible for that. You do have, I guess, Mausoleum Mages of the world who can do it too. I'm just looking for particularly good Hydra fights. Nia actually can be really good in the fight. She resets people's skills and she can cleanse. So cleansers in here. So those were epics. And if I don't limit you to epics and I throw the legendaries in, you can see the pool really expands. So some great legendaries in here for cleansing debuffs as well. So a cleanser or a shield champ, a reviver, whoever you have. You know, for revive, you've got simple ones like Syl the Drakes, right? Rector Drath can do both the cleanse, decrease attack, and revive. She's a great champ. She's a 3-in-1. And she heals too. She's a 4-in-1. So, and then the next one would be Perfect Veil or Shamael. So Perfect Veil, once again, Rector Drath again. But you got Feral and you've got Ninja who protects himself. You got Duchess who can do the whole team. So just different champs. There's not a lot of great choices here. Rector Drath, probably the most accessible epic in here that can put up a veil, which that stops the Head of Torment from landing on you. So if your champ's under a veil, you don't get the fears as well. Shamail clears them, or veil. So lower on the list, as I said, AoE increase speed, the best buff. Block debuffs, the next best. Healed, shields, revives, next best. And then if you get perfect veil, great. Increase attack, increase defense, shield, strengthen. I'd lump them all as nice buffs to have, but I wouldn't prioritize them if you can get them. Careful with things, so buffs to be careful of. Watch buffs like counterattack and continuous heals. So the Head of Mischief will steal buffs from the champ with the most buffs. So if you have a Wixwell on there with counterattack, if the Head of Mischief steals that counterattack and then spreads it to all the other heads, they're now counterattacking every time you attack. And if you use an AoE champ and they all have counterattack, they'll just wreck you. So you got to watch those buffs. I wouldn't want to bring them. So skills to bring, revive ally attack are good. Increase buff duration champs so they can cover those turns where you don't have the ability until it's on cooldown. Increased buff duration. And then cleanse, healing, buff removal. So those champs are all good for skills that you can bring to the fight. The next topic is the Mischief tank. So the Head of Mischief will steal buffs from your team and then spread them to all the other heads. It's a real mess. So you can pull up block buffs first. So that's why we said that's an important debuff to land, so that the Head of Mischief will steal them still from your champs, but then he can't put them on himself to spread. That's one strategy with the Head of Mischief. The other way you can do it is to have a champ that the Head of Mischief's going to want to go after, but he has enough resist. So, for example, I said be careful with Wixwell on his counterattack. Well, if I take Wixwell as an example here, I use Wixwell in Hydra, but if you'll see the resistance I put on him, I have 590 resistance on him. Now, he's built for Nightmare Hydra. If you're on normal, you don't need nearly that amount of resistance. You can have much lower resistance. We're talking more like 250. So with a tank that, in his case, he has a skill that will put a counterattack on himself. So he has a passive that at the end of his turn and the start of the round places a counterattacks buff on himself. So he could have more buffs than other champs in the team, which will make him a natural target for the Head of Mischief. So if you're bringing Wixwell in the fight, you need to put resistance on him or he'll get that thing stolen. So what you can do is, if you have a champ, or another way people do it is they take Shamail. Shamail is a champ that you can build as a tank. So I have one of my Shamails built where he has high resistance. So he has 458 resistance. And what I do is you put a blood shield accessory on him. So when he does his A1s and he attacks, he puts a buff above him because of the blood shield. And then the Head of Mischief will target him over others, and you put high resistance on him. So Shamail is another one that works well for that. So the blood shield ring or ring, amulet, banner, whichever one you have, can work as a way to bring targets. The champion skills, if they buff themselves more than they buff others, can help. Or Lightning Cage Blessing will also be a buff on that champ. Or you can use the Blood Shield Ring and Lightning Cage to increase your odds. So those are just different ways to draw the Head of Mischief to a particular target and put resist on him, which if you do that and you have block buffs, you have more chances to resist the Head of Mischief. So the next section is damage dealers. I already showed you HP burners. HP burners are a great source of damage, particularly in those lower stages when you don't have as many options for damage dealers later. Max HP damage dealers, so the Royal Guards of the world, the Husks. These guys can do some really good damage, and the Royal Guard brings other skills, and Husk brings a provoke on his A1. So you've got champs that can do max HP, Whisper being another one, plus there's plenty of legendaries that do it as well. And then heavy hitters, champs like Thor, Ninja, just do raw damage, but they can do a lot of it, can be really effective in there too. So many damage dealers you can use. Live arena bonuses would be my next section. So if you go to the live arena and you do area bonuses, Hydra is probably the most valuable right now to put bonuses into. And if you're interested in Hydra, it makes a big difference. So you'll see I have my ignore defense maxed. I have my crit damage at 9. I have speed at 8, and I have resistance and accuracy up to 7. So that's adding a lot of stats to my champs and a lot of ability to ignore defense and do more damage. I should eventually cycle to the left as well. I just don't care for live arena at all. So, and you'll see I got a pile of medals because I'm kind of waiting for Chimera to join the party here. And I think I would put more into Chimera. So live arena bonuses are helpful. So last section to talk about is auto versus manual. Certainly everybody would like to do this content manually. So just some things to consider. Obviously it'd be great to do quick battles. I'm just gonna run this one while I'm talking. So if you do auto, there's a lot of things you don't get. So you wanna have champs that are friendly for the provoke, for example. So in this case, you'll see if I didn't set Wixwell up to probably ignore his A3 and A2 if I put Wixwell in, then he's gonna end up attacking, he's gonna end up opening with those other skills, and you can see they put up all those buffs. So if I wanna go auto-friendly, I'm gonna turn off Wixwell's A2 and A3, or I'm going to at least prioritize his A1 to open, and he will naturally target the Head of Decay unless there's a champ that's been devoured. So you want your provoker to be smart in the AI if you want to go auto. And then your champs need to be fast enough and get their skills up. Certain things you can do if you do manual, which will help you get that 1.6 million a lot easier on normal. You can time the debuffs like I showed you in that little mock run I did, where if I know I can't beat these skills and I can't get provoke, I will make sure I don't use debuffs right before the Head of Decay goes. So you can see the Head of Decay up here with his 2. That's going to be his remove buffs from all heads. When that gets down to 1, I save my abilities. Let him cleanse off the heads, and then I put my abilities back up. So you can time your abilities. Decapitate heads don't lower the turn meter. So if your head's decapitated or you're about to decapitate a head and he's got high turn meter, I might wait for his turn meter to go down right before I try and kill him off. So that way he'll stay dead longer. You can do that if you're timing manually. I guess if you kill a head like right here, when that head comes back up, he's gonna have protection from getting hit. If I'm doing it manually, I'll make sure I don't target that head. And if there's 2 or 3 heads that have those protection on it, I might just hold my AoE nukes until everybody comes back and has that protection gone. So I can time abilities that way as well. The other thing I can do is if the heads are dead, I can save abilities like putting up decrease attack, but I will focus on doing damage as well. So that's what I was talking about, is he comes up with that I think that's Serpent's Will, but the thing that protects him from taking any damage. So there's no point in attacking him. So if multiple of them come up, I watch that. If multiple heads are devoured or multiple heads are down, I will save big debuffs that I want to use until they come back up, and then I can land the debuffs I want, so I can time those as well. I will target champs that are going to land Brimstone to try and get to champs that use abilities. DK, I'm trying to provoke, so putting Brimstone on Head of Decay is useless, so I'll target other heads. And then HP burn, I will target the Head of Suffering here for HP burn. He has the most HP, he does the most damage with that. Geo's HP burn I might put on the Head of the Wrath though, because it does lower the amount of damage we take. So that's things you can do if you are you're doing it manual and trying to just get that damage you want to get, whether you're trying to get a max key or you're just trying to get that 1.6 in the auto battle. Just isn't working. There are ways you can do that. So we just hit the 1 key for normal, and that's just using, I guess I had Wixwell in here because I swapped him in, but I had an all epic team in here. Actually, did I take Wixwell out? I think I took, oh no, Wixwell's still in there. So I got 1 legendary in there, but I did have all epics when I was showing you the intro. So a team like this can easily do it. So that's pretty much all I would say. So a lot of information there, I think, just buffs, debuffs, skills that you want to use, and how you get through Hydra. So, hey, if there's anything in there that that I missed, put those in the comments. If there's questions you have where I said something that didn't make sense, put those in the comments and I'll answer them. Appreciate it. I hope this was helpful. Like the video and subscribe if it did. Thank you.